Hey guys, so it's been a while, I know. This is the first video I'm doing in a very long time that's even remotely movie related to this channel since about a month ago, which, the video I've talked about all the reasons of why I wanted to take a mini hiatus from all this. I put it in the description below. But yes, I have been using the time that I needed to kind of figure things out, straighten things up, and just to get my life functioning back at a much more stable rate again. And I feel that things have been gradually, more or less, been improving for me, these past few weeks. Well, minus a couple of setbacks, personal setbacks, which I won't talk about, obviously. But yes, the things I've been doing in between my first 5 months video till now are things like, job hunting and applying for jobs, outside jobs, and doing more research as to how to further popularize my channel, spread the word around, and just to get more traction on my channels as a whole. But yes, important thing is, after getting those sorted out, I've now finally found the time to get back to doing another movie review video once again. And this time today, it's going to be for a movie that I saw about a week ago. One that I honestly didn't expect to see, which is called Ruby Gillman Teenage Kraken, which is Dreamworks Animation's newest film of this year. And here's the synopsis. So Ruby Gillman, Teenage Kraken, stars Ruby Gillman, who's played by Lana Condor, a shy but quirky-natured 15-year-old girl who lives with her Kraken family, including her mother, who's played by Toni Colette, and is desperate to fit into her high school in the human world. One day, when she enters the ocean against her mother's wishes, she discovers her secret abilities as a gigantic kraken, prompting her to visit her grandmother, who's played by Fonda, a Warrior Kraken Queen, who tells her of her descendants from battle-hardened krakens, who have protected the land and sea from evil mermaids for generations. Ironically, however, along the way, she befriends a mermaid friend named Chelsea, who's played by Annie Murphy, which leads into an exciting adventure. So right off the bat, I had absolutely no idea this movie even existed until about over a month ago, which is thanks to these two videos right here, which I'll link in the description below. And at first I thought it was one of those animated movies which were done by an indie animation studio company, but no, it's actually from Dreamworks. And my first thoughts were, oh my god, Dreamworks is actually doing it again! It looks like they're gonna be pulling off a Shrek move by taking a very well-known fairy tale and putting their own spin on it by completely destroying their usual story tropes. Could this be it? Could this be their next big hit of the decade? And on top of all that, it looks to be making fun of and mocking the story of The Little Mermaid as a whole, which coincidentally, Disney is also remaking this year and also releasing at the very same time as this movie this year. So yeah, with this first glimpse, thanks to the two videos that I put in the description, I honestly couldn't help but feel curious about this movie. It got me hooked. So I checked it out last week, and so, well, what did I think of it? So imagine if The Little Mermaid, Turning Red, and Luca either had a love child or had a cousin they kept forgetting to bring up. Yeah, Ruby Gillman is that cousin and that baby. So overall, I thought this movie was fun. It was surely entertaining, at least for me. And, it was pretty wholesome, and I found some bits to be relatable. And, I think this is a movie that I definitely think families and kids will definitely like. But I think the voice acting in this movie, I think, was the best part of this movie for me, actually.
I think I am having a panic attack!
I think I can tell that the actors did whatever they could, whatever they were able to do to elevate this movie for what is otherwise a predictable story, which I'll get back into in a sec. I think this movie, I think it did a good job in putting, their own spin on the Little Mermaid story, or taking the tropes of the Little Mermaid and just basically putting them in reverse. Let me briefly explain. So in the original Little Mermaid story by Disney, it's about a teenage girl mermaid wanting to be a part of the human world, despite the disapproval from her father of high royalty, who runs into a sea kraken / octopus witch
Body language!
that tricks the mermaid into getting what she wants and wants to acquire a special trident to gain immense power. Here in Ruby Gillman, it's about a teenage girl sea kraken this time wanting to be part of the ocean world.
There's a whole world down there that I have never seen. Jellyfish, plankton, coral reefs.
But what else lives there?
I know. Monsters.
And those monsters want to hurt krakens like us.
Despite the warnings of her mother, who turns out she's from high royalty too, who runs into a mermaid who is already part of both the human and ocean world, and actually befriends her, but ends up getting tricked by her after helping her acquire, yet again, another special trident. Wait a minute, then coming to think of it, actually, in this case, this actually feels similar or based off of The Little Mermaid 2, because this movie is almost exactly like that movie. Oh no. So in conclusion from that, before drifting away from all this, so what we get essentially is a reverse Little Mermaid, which completely contradicts the regular Little Mermaid story that we're used to seeing, and more specifically in particular contradicts and goes against, you know, this movie right here. No wonder they decided to release it at the same time as that movie. I see what you're doing there, DreamWorks. I see what you're doing. Very sneaky.
Body language.
Yeah, at least this was an original story, unlike, you know, this other movie right here. I like some of the characters in this movie, although there were some that I wasn't really a big fan of. I really like the character of Uncle Brill and the Kraken Queen, which they didn't really state her name. She just goes by Grandmama. I'm kind of mixed on the main characters Ruby and Agatha, to be honest. Agatha is the name of Ruby's mom. And I just think their inability to at least minorly communicate with each other, I just found to be really a bit annoying. Because I feel like if at least Agatha and Ruby at least tried to minorly communicate with each other, then I think the events of this movie would have turned out better. There's nothing really special about Ruby's friends either. They're just, you know, just the typical high school friends who look out and care for the main character. There's nothing really special about her crush, Connor, either, who's just the typical popular hot dude of the high school story.
Connor's here.
Yeah, Connor's here.
Oh, hi.
But I think, if we were to pick favorites, I think this character right here, the elephant in the room, Chelsea Vanderzee, is probably the best character and the highlight character for me of this movie. I think she was honestly just the major driving force behind getting people's attention to even get this movie noticed in the first place.
I'm a mother flippin' mermaid. Love you so much. Love you too, Rando. My cute little floppy baby guppy girl. You need a super sea girl ditch day.
And like I briefly explained with the similarities between the Little Mermaid story and the story of Ruby Gillman, Teenage Kraken, this is essentially Ariel in reverse. It's essentially basically DreamWorks' middle finger to Disney. And I loved every second she was on screen. I don't know about you guys, but yeah, she definitely was the one to elevate the movie up to 11. And also, can we talk about that? If you really want a Little Mermaid movie to see this year, but one that literally, you know, adds at least something narratively meaningful to it and makes something original out of it, and with its own spin, rather than literally remaking the whole thing frame by frame, and one that also literally takes place within the times of today in a much more proper way rather than trying to update or modernize a story from the past. I'd very much rather you see this movie, you know, if you can. So please, I implore you, just go see this movie for crying out loud. Other than, you know, the Little Mermaid that probably the movie industry actually wants you to see. This movie also apparently draws inspiration from films like Lady Bird, Easy A, and Booksmart, and I could definitely totally see the similarities from Ruby Gillman to those movies. And I actually appreciate DreamWorks for trying to, you know, diversify their movies and by, you know, covering different kinds of topics and themes. But with that being said, let's move on to the mixed and bad things I thought about this movie. And that's, you know, the whole mother and daughter relationship dynamic storyline in this movie, which it's the main driving force of this movie. It's the main central plot line of this movie. And I feel like this kind of storyline has been done, this narrative has been done so many times in cinema now at this point, you know, so it doesn't really, this movie overall, I feel at the same time, doesn't really feel new or refreshing to me. I wasn't like, going out of the theater, I wasn't thrilled, You know, because like the movie overall turns out to be just very predictable for me. I knew that Ruby's old friends would be her true and real friends all along in the end, and the fact that her family was right about this new, mysterious friend that Ruby finds in Chelsea all along. The new friend ends up being the one that betrays the main character of Ruby. The main character ends up being with her high school crush. And Ruby gets to be part of both worlds in the end, like in the Little Mermaid. So yeah, all predictable, off of which I could just immediately sense was coming. I also felt it kind of has similar vibes to Turning Red, except, I actually haven't seen Turning Red, and this is in no way, shape, or form promotion for me to actually review the movie in the future, just so you know. Except that after already knowing what the basic premise and synopsis of Turning Red is, I honestly think that Ruby Gillman does this kind of storyline, like mother and daughter dynamic, probably better, at least on a general sense. Turning Red did it from an Asian perspective, and this movie I think takes a general approach to it. So yeah, feels similar to Turning Red, except, not as cringe. With that being said though, that means I feel like this movie won't necessarily be for everyone, just like Turning Red wasn't necessarily for everyone. Plus, some things are not really explained in the movie, like they just go off without explaining it and they just want you to accept it. Like, how come nobody considers or notices that the Gillmans are clearly not human? Why do only the female krakens get to grow large in this story?
The women in our family have the mighty power to turn into giant kraken.
How did Queen Narissa return in the first place to find the Gillmans, which is also explained in the movie? Agatha actually locked them away after defeating them when she was a big kraken. And if Narissa is the queen of all mermaids herself, then why shouldn't she have the power to get the trident herself? And finally, this is Dreamworks' newest film after coming out with the masterpiece that was Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, which I reviewed, earlier this year. And I feel like this was definitely a major step down, and I was kind of disappointed by, the drop in quality in between this movie and Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. I honestly feel like Dreamworks can do better, and I feel like it failed to live up with the hype of this movie, in my opinion. So overall, my final thoughts are, whilst I thought this was a fun movie that's sure to be entertaining for families and kids alike, and this mermaid movie is at least a bit better than the actual Little Mermaid movie that we got at the same time as this one, in that it plays on the Little Mermaid story by putting it in reverse, and that its modern take is very appropriately placed, it still ends up being a mediocre, average film that you could just basically predict from the top of your head before the movie even ends. And because of its themes and topics that it covers or tackles, I feel like this movie won't necessarily be everyone, or not everyone, it will fit for everyone's tastes. But still, at the end of the day, my main message to come out of this is, Ruby Gillman Teenage Kraken is the mermaid movie that you should be watching instead of the other Little Mermaid movie that you're also getting this year. So I'm gonna go ahead and give Ruby Gillman Teenage Kraken a 6 out of 10 and a C+. Man, first C+ rating of this year, and on this channel too. So I really do wonder what other movies that I'll also rate below A and B, or even below C going forward. But I think I have a pretty awkward but sensical, strong feeling of which movie that might be. Anyways, that's gonna be my time. That's my review for Ruby Gillman Teenage Kraken. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, subscribe so you can tune in for more movie reviews or movie-related content on this channel. And if you haven't already, if you like this, make sure to leave a big thumbs up because that will help a lot of time. Oh, and by the way, this is the very first time I'm trying like a new setting for my videos with this green screen behind me. So my mic is also in front here, and yeah, there's also like a lighting behind the camera as well. My DSLR Canon camera, that's there's some lighting behind it. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about this setting. If you somehow ended up at the ending of this video here, let me know what you guys think. If you guys like this, then I'll keep doing it. But if you actually prefer me filming in front of a white background, then also let me know. And my big question for you guys is, have you seen Ruby Gillman Teenage Kraken? If so, what did you think of it? And if you haven't seen it, do you have any intentions or plans to see it? If not, then also tell me why in the comments below. And I guess that's it for me. I'll see you guys in the next one. Rhinos, roll out, and take care.